Hi everyone, Brett Laffin here, physical therapist, and today I would like to talk to you a little bit about 5 things that I think everybody should know when you're starting physical therapy. So whether you've had physical therapy in the past or not, I think that these things can really benefit you, that if you are going to be thinking about doing physical therapy, about actually seeking out a PT's help sometime in the near future, I think it's going to be a good thing for you to have these 5 components in mind, so that when you do go to start physical therapy, you have all these things understanding kind of ahead of time. It really makes a huge difference. Okay, so first of all, I always like to tell everybody that there's always a plan in place. So rest assured that when you're starting PT, your physical therapist who you're working with is very likely, highly skilled, highly educated, and he or she really does have a plan in place for you as you're going through the entire process. A good PT will share that with you, right? And so that's really important that, hopefully your physical therapist is sharing the plan with you and explaining why he or she is doing what he or she is doing, right? But understand that sometimes, just like in anything, in any other career, any other profession, we have things that we know that we need to do and goals we know we need to accomplish. And while we're going to do our best to share those with you, sometimes I feel like, sometimes we can almost just kind of assume that you might know why we're doing what we're doing, right? But, if you don't, right, and you are genuinely curious, right, make sure that you ask your therapist that, right? But understand that there is a plan in place. I always tell my patients there's a method to the madness, okay? So understand that going in. Sometimes it can feel like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Always ask your PT. We love educating. We love explaining to people, why we're doing what we're doing and the benefits of it. So feel free to ask, but it's always something to know going into it that, there is a plan, okay? So rest comfortable in that, okay? Number 2, I always recommend that you set your expectations when starting PT, right? And understand that, with physical therapy, it is a process, okay? Very often these days we're conditioned to, for example, take a medication, take a pill, get an injection, do something that's going to be, a very kind of more of a quick fix type of a thing, right, for you. Even today, we're so used to instant gratification, and that spills over into medicine and into, even physical therapy, where, people tend to kind of want what's going to get them better fast, right? And, while physical therapy can absolutely help to speed process of healing along, there's always a component of time, okay? And it's definitely a process. So understand that going in, that, this type of a process, healing, actually does take time. It really does. And again, your therapist will share with you, how long he or she is anticipating your condition to take in terms of the healing process. And again, if not, make sure you ask. Make sure you ask those questions, because it's always good to have an idea as to, well, what are we looking at? Am I looking at, a 3-4 week kind of thing, or am I looking at like a 3-4 month kind of a thing, or longer, right, in some cases? So, definitely make sure that you're asking your therapist about that. But go in understanding that this isn't something that when you start PT tomorrow, you're not going to be feeling all better the next day. It's just not going to happen. There's definitely a component of time involved, okay? So if you set those expectations as going in, you avoid the risk of being disappointed or frustrated by it as you go, okay? So that's a really important fact. So number 3, I always tell everybody that, you have to understand that when you're starting physical therapy is you are an active part of the physical therapy plan, okay? So, as I said, it is a process, and you are part of that process. Very often, again, we'll go to a doctor, we'll go to somebody, and we'll receive something like a medication to address something that's going on with us. But, very often those medications will, help us to get better quickly, especially in case of things like antibiotics, etc., right? But, that's really more of the doctors giving you something, you're taking it, and that's all you really need to do, right? But in physical therapy, you're definitely more of an active participant in this process. It's going to be very important that you kind of follow along with what your PT is recommending. Typically, we prescribe a home exercise program for you. It's going to be really, really important to follow along with that home exercise program and any other instructions that we give you, because this is what we do. We guide a person through the healing process, and we know the things that we need to do in order to to achieve your goals, to help you reach your goals and to get you better. So the more you participate in the process, the better it's going to go for you, and honestly, the faster you're going to get better. It just really works that way. But again, understand this is not a passive process. You're not going in and having a massage and leaving. It's just not, at least I hope not, because that's not what true physical therapy is, right? You're going to be expected to play a big role in your therapy, which is good because it forces you to take ownership of it, right? And anytime we have an active role in something, it always makes us more involved in it, and it gives us a more solid, understanding and a more solid foundation in the process itself, so that we really are invested in it. Okay, and that's really going to happen in PT. So go in understanding that, and understand that that's a very good thing. Okay, it really is. Okay, so number 4, I always kind of recommend that my patients, keep in mind and pay attention to the things that they know that tend to irritate their condition, right? And I'll very often actually tell them to keep a symptom journal, okay? And by that, what I mean is that it's a really good idea if, as you're going through your day, you're realizing when you're feeling symptoms or when you're not, to actually keep a little journal, whether that's mentally or it's actually something that you write down. Either one works great. I usually recommend writing it down, because then you can go back and you can find trends, right? Very often patients will come in and they'll say, I was doing really good, but then last night I started feeling more pain, and I really didn't do anything different. I don't know why it is. It's really weird. I'm concerned about it. And I always tell them that, while yes, there certainly are times when you are gonna, things just happen, right? And it could be a combination of a lot of things, not necessarily something that you pinpoint to tie to it, but usually symptoms and or your resolution of symptoms, feeling better, actually can be tied to what you were doing in the time leading up to it, right? Whether or not it was one particular thing or it was the combination of things as you went along your day, there's usually some kind of a root cause, So by keeping a symptom journal, you actually can kind of say like, look, okay, I woke up in the morning and, my pain was 4 out of 10, and then I did this, and now an hour later, I realized that my pain is a 2 out of 10. Okay, well, that's good to know. What are you doing at that time, right? Are you sitting? Are you standing? Are you driving? Are you working? Are you walking, right? Then later on in the day, okay, I notice, my symptoms are starting to come back a little bit. It's more like a 5 out of 10 right now. What am I doing right now, right? That's something that you can write down. Keep just a little journal of it. That's going to help you, and it's going to help us as your physical therapist, because we're going to be able to kind of use those clues to determine what's going on. What are the things that make your symptoms better, and what are the things that make your symptoms worse? And that's going to really help us to guide you along in this process. Okay, so something that can really help with that. And by the way, the other thing it really does is it makes things, when you do have ups and downs, especially the ups in terms of your symptoms, it makes them a little less scary, because sometimes when we think, why did my symptoms come back? What's going on here? It can be almost like scary as to, well, is something more going wrong? What's happening? But if you can kind of tie it to something, it makes sense, and it puts your mind at ease a little bit, right? So something to consider. I really recommend that you think about doing that right off the bat when you start PT. It's going to be really helpful. If you go into your PT session already kind of starting this process, kudos to you. It's even going to help you more. It's going to help your therapist more, and it's going to really work out better for you. Okay, so definitely something to think about. Last but not least, number 5. As you're going through this process, understand that we as physical therapists, this is what we do. It's what we eat, breathe, live, etc. We love this field, and we love helping people. Okay, we really do. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're very interested in the entire process, and we want to do the things that are going to help you. Okay, and the only way that we can really understand whether or not you're getting benefit out of this process, or if we need to kind of modify or change our plan of attack, is if you share your experience with your physical therapist. Okay, so I'll finish off with that and say that as you go through the process, share your experience with your PT. It's going to be really, really beneficial if you do. Let him or her know how things are going. Are you doing better? Are you not doing better? And why, right? Kind of that symptom journal comes back into play. It's going to really, really help you out. It's going to help your physical therapist out as well, okay? All right, so overall, like I said, those are just 5 things that I think are going to be really, really, really important. If you start physical therapy and you understand those 5 things, you're going to set yourself up for success right off the bat. It's going to make things much, much better for you, much, much easier for you. And honestly, it's going to make the life of your physical therapist even better as well, because you're doing a lot of that work that we typically have to kind of instruct our patients in, right? And really kind of be on top of them in terms of reminding them about all these things as we go through the process. If you already come into PT understanding that, you're really, really going to be setting yourself up for success, okay? All right, so overall, I thank you for listening. Please keep an eye on my blog. I'm going to be posting more and more videos like this one, kind of this length and shorter, and maybe some even longer as we go along. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And again, I thank you for listening. All right, have a good day. Take care.